Okay, thanks to somebody who watched our show, who sort of checked me because I said that George Russell gives better feedback than Verstappen because George Russell's analytical and looks at the data points and remembers things about the tracks. And he said that George Russell's more analytical than Verstappen and may be able to have more general terms for what the problem is. But because Verstappen is so sensitive to the track, he pinpoints where the problem is anyway and tells them so that he might even be better. And I'm not going to say he is better, but that's the strength of Verstappen. So the intuitive style of the driver is that Verstappen will be like, oh, the back left tire is snapping. I'm just using any words. It's snapping. He's already told you what's wrong. George Russell will say we have understeer at this part of the track. Verstappen will tell you right now, just now, we had snap. You get my point? It was snappy. And Verstappen giving you that time in real time. Russell will go later and look at the data and say, oh, yeah, I kind of felt a little unsteady there. You get my point? But Verstappen gives you immediate feedback so that you don't even have to go back and read the data. And you know what part of the track it is. So what Verstappen is he can pinpoint, because understeer could be for a lot of reasons. He could pinpoint that phenomenal moment because of his connection to the track. And some people have almost called it, they almost call it an unconscious connection to the track. It's almost like, I'm not lying, it's almost like magic. So he can pinpoint and he can tell you where it was. With Sainz and with Sainz and Russell, they still have to go through the data for a couple of hours before they find out what Verstappen knew immediately. So I'm going to take back, thanks to our fans, real people who watch our show, and don't ask us have we been watching F1 for 1 year, because we say that Lewis Hamilton doesn't give good feedback. Even though he may. You get what I'm trying to say? So what I'm saying is that Verstappen definitely has a feel for the track, and he can tell you where the problem is. Now, here's the problem, though. Russell can give you a general say, generally we have understeer. And they can say, okay, well, let's fix the balance. But when Verstappen says, I felt a twitch here or there, that's so minute that there's not a general thing that they can fix. And they know that it's causing the understeer, but the understeer is still a problem with the understeer. And you understand what I'm trying to say? So Russell's giving you the general problem, and even the engineers can fix it. Verstappen will say, we have this right twitch. But, we all know that if you fix one tiny problem without looking at the whole, the dynamic won't bring the balance you need. So it's still the problem of Verstappen has a car in which, even though he points out what the problem is, they don't have enough time during the weekend to investigate what's causing that little twitch. And what's really the problem is, no matter what, is that they have a general underbalance because of the peakiness of the car and because certain things like the front is too stiff. So it becomes to the point where it's a moot point if Verstappen can give you deeper feedback, because the deeper feedback he's giving you at the macro level, there's so many complexities that lead to the understeer. You see what I'm saying? Whereas at least with Russell, Mercedes has a more reliable car, I think. It's not as peaky as Red Bull. So he can say, okay, we have this understeer here. And it's okay, well, let's fix the understeer. Verstappen can say we have the understeer here, but they're not going to be able to fix it because it's caused by the pointiness of the car and the absolute imbalance of the car. You get what I'm saying? What are your thoughts?
Yes, I understand.
I'm saying it's actually a stalemate. Take or give, it doesn't matter. But Verstappen gives you feedback that you can now use for data for future corrections to say, why was this little discrete point so bad? So Verstappen's ultimately better in the long run because he can show you the points. Norris will give you a macro level explanation. Go ahead. Sorry, Afolabi.
Yes, absolutely. You're right about that. And if I look at this ability, it's a unique natural talent. In fact, some of the engineers in F1 call him a superpower. And this sets him apart from other drivers because he doesn't just sense what is going wrong. He actually senses it, processes the information, and tell you what exactly to do to fix it in an instant. Yeah. And there's no lag between his discovering the fault and his feedback to the engineer. So
the only problem is that even when he tells you to fix it, that fix may cause other problems, though.
It could. Yeah. But more often than not, he always gets it right. And if you look at
you're right. You're right about that.
Yeah. So he doesn't wait to look at any computer screen or any kind of data. He uses his senses, either haptic or vestibular.
You know what it is?
Yeah.
In real time, he's not even an engineer. In real time, he's a mechanic.
He's a mechanic. Yeah, absolutely.
In real time, he's a mechanic. Because the mechanic sees all these imbalances. He's not necessarily an engineer because the engineers deal with data. Mechanics have a more on-hand feel of the car. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, hands-on, basically. So he
I said
processes
on-hand. It's the rum.
so he processes the information, like you said, Mustafa, he processes the information in real time instead of overthinking. Instinctively, he feels that there's a change in the grip. How well the tires stick to the road, he's able to notice that. The balance of the car, if the car is leaning too much. And then he creates a direct link between the car's movement and its reaction. And within an instant, he's able to communicate to his engineers what exactly
Yes.
is to be done. And then while you have sensors, there are a lot of sensors on the car that give you information on what's going on. Max explains why it happened, and it connects the physical sensation basically with what is to be done by the engineers. So that's
Yeah,
what
he doesn't say I had
very
understeer.
unique.
He'll
No,
say
no,
this is
no.
snapping.
Yeah,
He'll give
and
you
it's
a very descriptive.
very, very descriptive, and it gives you with clarity and precision, no ambiguity. He's famous for being incredibly specific, which is, I mean, like you said, he's a mechanic, more like. Instead of saying the car feels bad, for instance, he will say the front end loses grip exactly halfway through turn 4 when I hit the curb, which is more specific. And that gives the engineers a better way to analyze the problem and then
Yeah.
fix it. And this allows the engineers to fix the exact problem immediately rather than wasting time or guessing on
Yeah.
troubleshooting further. So he's more proactive. He makes the engineer's job better. And basically, this enhances his driving ability overall. And I think he's a natural talent, basically. And
No,
more
I think it's two
than
things.
anything
Two
else,
things.
is
It's two things. See,
his
I've
training
never
with
seen anybody.
the simulator has
Yeah,
given
I've
him
never seen
a slight
anybody like
idea.
Verstappen. You're right. It's natural, but I've never seen anybody like Verstappen who has the raw talent and intuition of Leclerc and Hamilton. But at the same time, he's Dutch, and you know Dutch are good at logic. He's also
Yeah, sure,
logical too.
sure.
It's very
Very,
rare to find somebody who's emotional, sensory, but they're logical too. And if you speak to them in engineering terms, he understands it. So what it means is that he's super excellent when it comes to sensory perception, and he's proficient in engineering and logic and things like that. He's proficient. That's a deadly combination. You see
sure.
what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Whereas you got guys like science. Science is logical, but he has no intuition and
No,
no
no, it doesn't.
he
It
doesn't
doesn't.
have it.
Yeah. That's why I say
Uh,
it's natural ability is a skill
yeah, yeah.
that
It's,
is
it's good
that is
skill.
rare.
And
It's
also
rare in
and
Formula One drivers,
and here's
really.
our last end. A lot of this comes from his time in the sim machine
Oh, sure,
because what he
absolutely.
does is that he does sim testing for real world races, and it's not the sim testing isn't enough, but he's beginning to blur the lines between sim racing and real racing,
Sure,
where he's picking up data points that you can get from sim racing and
sure,
picking them up analytically. I mean, picking them up intuitively, and he's translating it to when he's on the track. Then when he's on the track, he gains more visceral, tactile information. This guy is he's a computer.
sure,
He's a
absolutely.
computer. He's a computer. He's a computer, but at the same time, he's a reptile. He's reptilian. He's a reptilian computer. Because a
Reptilian.
reptile has the grip to the hand. He's a reptilian computer. But the way he does computer is not through an algorithm. It's just through receptive feedback
That's what
of
I'm saying. It's
receptive
a
feedback
natural
loop. Yeah.
ability. He's a
He
genius.
doesn't think. He processes.
He
That's the best
processes.
word. He processes.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so basically, like you said, he spends an enormous amount of time in high-end racing simulators. Now, if you look at the sim racing is basically a laboratory where he calibrates his brain to recognize how even the smallest setup change affects the behavior of the car. Now, one of the greatest strengths of Verstappen is he's able to bridge the gap. He can drive a digital car in a simulator and tell engineers exactly how those changes will feel in the real world track. So this makes the team
That's
development
crazy.
process much faster and more accurately,
That's crazy.
which is not normal, is a natural ability that is you can't find it in most drivers. Is a unique ability.
It's crazy. And it goes to show because Verstappen is not a thinker. I remember when there were 10 races left, and they said, what are your chances of winning? He said, either I win or lose, 50-50. He's right. Even though you and me know that it's not 50-50, it's still probability. But to him, it's either or. You know what that is? That's what they call deterministic thinking. He's
Yeah,
deterministic. It's not probabilistic. It's
yeah,
like, okay, it's like 50,000 people have a gun to your head. They said, what are your chances of living? if I live, I live. If I die, I die. 50-50.
Yeah.
Other people would say, no, you have a weapon. So, but the way they're thinking like that, he doesn't cloud himself with too much analyticism, like George Russell. You get my point? He said 50-50. If I win, I win. And you know what they said? They said something about if this hadn't happened, Verstappen wouldn't have won. He said, if my mother had a dick, she wouldn't be my mother. It's just straightforward. I don't know. You understand what I'm trying to say?
I
It's
understand
either
what
or.
you're saying.
Stop thinking about all the, if I hadn't gone across the street and talked to my girlfriend, if I hadn't gotten angry, who gives a fuck, man? You're dead. You get my point?
That sounds like Lando Norris.
Yeah. In other words, Verstappen has binary thinking. Either or. Either or.
Sure.
Norris is like, I wish I could be more this, I wish I could be that. And that helps him as a driver. It doesn't help him as a human being, though. Because he would be like, this motherfucker boring, man. He don't elaborate. There's no need to elaborate. He told you what the problem of the car is. Fix it. They said, well, we have other design issues. He's like, I wasn't there when you were designing it, so I don't know what that shit is.
Sure.
But you deal with this shit. I'm serious. Man, I thought this is one of our best shows. Take us out.
Absolutely. So, to me, Max Verstappen is a human sensor. Modern F1 cars are developed with a lot of electronic sensors, but Verstappen acts as a high-resolution human sensor. He will provide qualitative data the computers cannot capture, and he helps to feedback his team to develop a faster car, basically. So they're not just looking at the numbers, the engineers, they're listening to a driver who feels every millimeter of the track.
He's like, he is the matrix.
He's the matrix, exactly. So he's the data that's being read by the
Because each of those sensors is a discrete unit.
It's a discrete unit.
That doesn't know what's going on the other side. Exactly. But he's universalizing the whole thing.
So at the end of the day,
we don't reach serious level for this show.
Sure. So at the end of the day, is Max Verstappen's feedback that gives the engineers exactly what to do, basically.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? You just gave a brilliant view. 3 years ago, you didn't even know who Verstappen was. You understand what I'm saying? That's what's brilliant about this.
I didn't know the Ferrari drivers. I was just learning.
Yeah, but because you are smart, because you're a mechanical engineer, so it's natural for you.
Faster, of course.
I take us out,
catching up. So it's been a very brilliant effort.
No, there's no more catching up. Like that, ain't no more catching up. People catching up with you. Take it out.
So it's been a brilliant Formula One show. We've been discussing Max Verstappen's innate ability to turn himself to a human sensory machine to discover what's wrong with the car and deliver real-time data to the engineers to fix the car on time and make it drivable for him. And from Mustafa and myself, we wish you a wonderful new year, all our fans. We'll be back again in 2026.
And also, we're doing this on New Year. We post every day. Even if my grandma dies, I'll cry, have a beer, post, and go back and cry. We're going to post every day.
Every day.
Okay, press stop.
Yeah.